Action it is. Episode 5, BullsEye Pod.
Good afternoon, sir.
Kulakani Flungwani, Mark and Caro. First one I want to chat about, hot off the press, Jake White returns. He's officially back. The Mac is back. And we're so happy to have him return to our team. And in perfect timing, just in time, nick of time. DHL Storm is next weekend. But Jake White said he penned a wonderful letter about returning to the game and his time away, saying that rugby's not life or death. Your next heartbeat is. Very profound words from our coach, KK. Just a word on him return.
Yeah, it's a massive thing that is back, Marcos. He's obviously been the man that's been missing the chess piece. The king has come back, you know what I mean? So having him back, Marcos, is so big for us. And, I saw in the article, he kind of said that, he's got a different outlook at the way he looks at life and after what has happened. And but like rugby-wise, I think it's going to be a sensational comeback for Jake White. It's coming back at a great time before the Stormers game as well, Mark. So excited to have our coach back. There's not much I can say about that. Just that I'm very excited to have him back.
Then rumours swirling. Again, we cannot confirm nor deny, but we're just going to comment on the rumours that have heated up of late. Jaco from Walt, Edinburgh fly half, former Golden Lions playmaker, could be in the reckoning for a Vodacom Bulls contract. We'll see how that pans out. Should it pan out, Swace the Brain came out and was saying that it's a potentially great signing, a great coup for the Vodacom Bulls. He's a baller, Jaco van der Walt. He plays exciting up-tempo rugby. He's happy, comfortable in the pocket, comfortable behind the ball, kicking for posts. He's got 2 caps for Scotland, so they obviously rate him internationally. Yeah. He's kind of fallen out of favour with the international setup, but still a really, really good playmaker, really good pivot, and a really nice addition considering that this is more than likely Mornay Stein's final season with the Vodacom Bulls. Again, we don't have confirmation on that, but the rumours are that it's close to calling time on his career. So Jaco van der Walt could be a great signing at Stanwolf there for the Vodacom Bulls.
Yeah, Mark, 100%. 94 Edinburgh caps, 471 points. He's a linchpin, one of their linchpins there. And Swace made a mention in the article that he was just unlucky at the Lions at the time because that Alton Yankees was firing and he was playing behind Alton Yankees. And even Swace says that when he came to tell them that he's leaving the Lions, he was actually in tears because he didn't want to leave South Africa, but he wasn't getting game time. So hopefully he will get game time. I think he will get game time at the Bulls because of how many competitions we play in, and we like to rotate the squad. So I'm very excited about it, Mark.
And he'll probably come back as a more complete player, having, as you mentioned, 94 caps in Edinburgh, 2 caps for Scotland. So he'll come back a lot more experience. I think he's only 29, 30 years old around there. So still got a lot of life left, still got a lot of juice. So potentially a very nice signing. KK, you've got an article on the Vodacom URC.
Yeah, Vodacom URC. Let's both chat about this. URC stock tech. Bulls dominant at Fortress Loftus.
This is by SA Rugby Mag.
It's SA Rugby Mag. Yeah, and when we spoke about Bulls Fortress Loftus the other week, but the SA Rugby Mag actually looks deeper into like how we've competed, home and away. Speaking about like how we've won 5 games at home out of the 13 we've played, and only won 3 on the road. So it just shows that obviously just this is unbelievable. We are unbelievable at home, but we struggle away. But the article is just highlighting how good we are at home, and that these last 4 or 5 games to end the season could be the linchpin to put the Bulls in a home knockout position. Saying that they will get the article author saying that we will get probably 17 points, which is what we kind of went at, Marcus. That's about 4 games in 5 to win. So
I wanted to say one thing on that we are undefeated since February of last year. So brilliant undefeated run at Loftus Fastfeld. So we'll get to it in a minute about the game at hand, but we just want to chat about some of the awards that SA Rugby Magazine gave away. The one is MVP. SA Rugby, again, this SA Rugby Magazine, not necessarily us, saying their MVP was Ruan Nokia, of course, our captain, 122 tackles in the Vodacom URC. That's 5th in the comp. He's our leading tackler. He's been unbelievable as a captain. He's been a really steady force in the forwards, and he's really improved as a leader and will continue to improve. And then, speaking of most improved, David Krill, who leads us. He leads the team in clean breaks and meters. We think he's taken a step up. Of course, friend of the show, we had him on in our first episode. He's been lighting it up in the competition. And then they said our best win was against Cardiff.
Which I agree, I think.
I agree as well. 45-9, ran in 6 tries in the process. And this was, bear in mind, a week after Cardiff went to Durban and absolutely slaughtered the Sharks in their backyard. 35-0. We're saying this is a really good team. They're playing good up-tempo rugby. They were defending really well. I think they were the best defensive team in the comp at that time. We were billing it as best attack in the Vodacom Bulls versus best defense in Cardiff. So a really, really mammoth win. Speaking of big potential wins, KK, next week we take on the DHL Stormers.
Yes, sir.
And this is a call to the masses to come out and support. Over 17,000 tickets are already out of the market. Our goal is 30,000 and above. We want to help us open East Upper for the first time since 2020, and maybe even beyond that. Of course, the Vodacom Bulls game, excluding the test match. So just a word on that rivalry and calling the fans to come out and watch.
I mean, North-South derby, Marcos, it doesn't get bigger than that. Biggest derby in domestic rugby, I think, in the world. I mean, you can't deny that. And I think I don't think that the Bulls faithful need any more motivation than that. There's a North-South derby, which is going to be so much going to be on the line of that game in terms of where both teams are going to end up in the URC going forward. So that is going to be a huge game. It's going to be very festive around Loftus Asphalt. The Bullseye team will be out commentating. It's going to be a great day of rugby, a festival of rugby, if I may say, when the Bulls take on the DHL Stormers, my boy.
So make sure you get your tickets. Come out and support the boys. It's going to be a festival of rugby at Loftus Asphalt. And we're expecting our biggest crowd since 2020, so in 3.5 years. Okay, KK, it's that time of the show where we introduce our guest for this podcast, a man who I can confidently say is on the trajectory of becoming a cult hero in South African rugby. Over 150 caps in that terrible union that we won't name. Goes up to Wasps, becomes a cult figure there as well. Comes back to the Vodacom Bulls after winning Carling Currie Cup and Vodacom Super Rugby Unlocked, now enjoying his second stint at our proud union. It is the one and only Nemo, Mr. Nizaam Carr.
Yes, sir. Salam, brother.
Salam, brother.
Thank you so much for joining us, Nizaam.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate it. And let's start off with a softball here before we get into all the political questions. Nemo is your nickname. Can you just quickly tell us where did that come about?
So I was attending a Model C school, and obviously got a bursary to go to Bishops. Luckily that day, one of the scouts were watching me play at the tryouts, a rugby game, obviously, and I managed to perform one of my best games. Went for interview, and then they obviously accepted me to attend Bishops. And then after that, now we into school process and everything. So the school was quite big. I've never seen anything like that. So you'd find like your maths class is like 20 kilometers this, not 20 kilometers, 5 kilometers this way. Your English is here, this one. So I didn't know exactly where to go. And the first week they couldn't pronounce my name. And at that time, Finding Nemo came out. And the teacher would ask, where's the new guy, where's the new boy? And the boys would be like, okay, let's go find Nemo. Because they couldn't obviously say Nizaam properly, the first week of school. And ever since then, it stuck with me. Went into rugby, they were calling me that nickname. Same into Western Province. I won't mention them too much, but then it just stuck with me ever since school days. Yeah, so that's how.
That's great.
That's how it came about. Yeah.
Might have to end the interview.
Yeah. Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers,
but okay, so you mentioned coming from a Model C school. You mentioned that transition to Bishops. So let's start just before Bishops. You were raised in Mitchell's Plain. I think obviously synonymous with violence, gangsterism, drugs, all of that. I think that's the picture everyone has in their mind. But from someone who came from that environment, perhaps you can just give us a snapshot or description of growing up in that environment.
Look, I always say to the boys when I speak to them, I'm like, it's what you believe and how far you want to take your career. So I don't believe in your environment is going to play a big role, although other people do. But I always had this vision of becoming something. I didn't know I wanted to a sport. I found myself playing every sport: volleyball, cricket, athletics, hockey, even netball with the girls sometimes. I was just happy to be around, running off the ball and things like that. So I had this vision, I had this dream to want to take my career further. And as I said, not sure if it was sport, if it was in the business world. I was just happy doing things, and I envisioned that for me. And I always say to them, if you believe in yourself, you back yourself, the environment you grow up in, it's not a factor. You will get opportunities once you work hard, you believe in God and things like that. So that was the case for me. Then I got invited to Western Province trials and made the teams every single year, under 13, 15, 16, right up until the senior team. So on the side, there are things like gangsterism and drugs taking place, and obviously most of my friends fell into that trap. I even up to today go and visit them and chat to them. But you can fall deep into that, say, rabbit hole if you find yourself around that company the whole time. But sometime or another, you have to, you know, maybe turn the page on that and then go the other route or go the other way. And that was for me. I don't believe your environment is a factor, although many people do, but that was the case for me.
How bad is it? Because we're seeing now Mitchell's playing the death toll's getting worse and worse each year. How bad is it from that environment? I know you're saying that you can always overcome your odds no matter how bad they are, but for young people who look up to you and say, I want to be like Nizaam Carr, I want to go into professional rugby or in the business world or any other sport, how bad is it? And then how would you say this is how you can get out of that
Yeah.
scenario?
Look, there is one of the things that happens a lot whether is in the Cape Flats where there's crossfire shooting. And I think just last week one boy or somebody died again. Because the thing is you're playing in the street and then some gang decide like this is gonna happen now and then they just, shoot and then the kids end up in that crossfire. So that is unfortunate, but then again the drugs plays a major role. 3 or 4 of your friends are maybe using drugs. And if you're in that environment, you want to try things out. And if you don't have a solid foundation or a base where you say, look, this is wrong and this is right, and I'm sorry, you're also going to fall into that. But like me and many others, we always decided that you want to be on the other side of the fence, and it's really tough. I think 2 years ago, my friend passed away of drugs. My friends got shot, they got stabbed. And I don't want to make it sound bad because a lot of people obviously know what happens there because most of my family are even there. But it's a wonderful place. I'm not saying that it's all people growing up there are going to become nothing. There is opportunities. You just you have to go and look for it and work hard. And in the end of the day, you will come out of that environment because a lot of my friends are still living there who's accountants, they art or being big in art. So that's a case, but it's difficult, but you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, Nizam. I just want to move quickly forward. Are you any more questions?
I've got one more.
Yeah,
Sorry,
ask
it's
me.
the last
Yeah.
one on this, but
Yeah.
I don't know if this is true. I read this in an article. Is it true that you were kind of solicited to be an enforcer in a gang? Is that true or is that ridiculous?
No, I think that is ridiculous. I never found myself in a gang. I know of people who's in a gang. Some of my family, not family, friends, family who's in a gang. Um, but luckily, God always guided us to not be there. Um, as I said before, boys got stabbed, boys got beaten up, sometimes for no reason. It's just all about where you are. You're not allowed, maybe in this area or this neighborhood, you will get beaten up. And it's the same with drugs. If you try and sell maybe your stash over here, you might get beaten up for that. So because that belongs to somebody else's stuff. So that is the case. Um, I don't see myself as or joining or enforcer in a gang. It was never the case for me.
Have they ever tried to get you in the gang?
Yeah, I think that was the
Yeah, that
question.
was the question,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say like asking me physically, like, look, do you want to join or whatever, or you have to do some tattoos or to mark you that you belong to a gang. But as I said, I was just never involved 100%. It's sort of that, yeah. We were just happy to, we call it playing putt cricket, fives aside on the pitch, and we didn't have grass where I played. It was gravel. So you could imagine your scars, your knees, and things like that. So we were always busy with sport back in the day.
Awesome. And then Mr. Carr, moving on to, because if I'm not mistaken, you've got an academy, right?
Yeah.
At Islamia.
Well, I had it, and
Yeah,
then we
what
had to
happened to
close down because what happened was I left for overseas.
Okay.
It became a little bit difficult to manage, even though I had very good people handling it. But we just sort of said, look, let's maybe try and do it after my rugby career.
Yeah.
But I'm now affiliated to another academy, which is Johan de Jong's academy.
Okay. Where's that? Cape Town as well.
There's a lot of bases. I think it's 3 schools, but we can go into that a bit later. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Because when I saw that and not sure about the Islamic one, I got quite excited. I got a lot of friends who went to
But
Islam.
it was fun. I think we ran for about 2 or 3 years. We first started with the rugby academy and some other sports, and then we went into the schooling, boys would come, obviously do their schooling from 8 to 3 o'clock, and then we'd have practice after. And there was cricket, rugby, any sport, we did that, and then about 5 o'clock they would go home. But we had lots of fun, we learned a lot. Obviously, in things like that, you must have funding, because it was NGO, so you need funding to be backed and things like that. So we struggled in that. But those type of things, need to prosper if you have the backing of some investors, or if I could call it
Yeah,
that.
and with that from the school, was there no sort of pushback in terms of like madrasa and stuff, or rugby taking time over
Yeah,
that?
at Islam, because it's a Muslim school, they would obviously have the Islamic study class, and that's where they learn. And I quite find it very important, because we have a lot of boys going to further their rugby careers or something like that. Then they lose the value of going to madrasa and stuff like that. So I would want my kids to first learn that basis, the solid foundation. I wouldn't say I did it that way, because I was also a very naughty boy, always grievelijk and running around and doing stuff. But sort out the foundation, then you're ready to take on the world. You can go anywhere, wherever you aspire to be, whatever you want to be, you can do it, as long as that is solid in your life. Yeah.
No, 100%. And then we can't speak to you without, and I've said it to everyone here, we can't speak to one speak, but with you, you can't speak to about Bishop. You've been open with Bishops, right? Your
Yeah.
time at Bishop. So I'll quickly go. I got three questions, sorry, from three Bishops, all boys. But they're my year, so you might know their brothers, you might know them.
Okay.
So let me just quickly ask them. Sorry. It's locked there. There you go. So the first one is from Cornell Smith. I don't know if you know Cornell Smith. From Cornell Smith. He wanted to ask, who is the best Bishops boy you ever played with? Pick one for your time and Bishops, for your time at Bishops, and one for after school in your time as a pro.
Besides me.
Yeah, obviously.
No, I was lucky enough to play with Sam Lane. There's
Was
so
Timo in your
many.
team? Was Sewell in your team?
Yes, Tom Sue was also there. He was also unbelievable when he played. He was 2 years younger than me, so he was after when I matriculated and stuff.
Okay.
But in my year, sort of before that, it was Sam Lane. And there's many boys that was outstanding, but he was the one that always stood out for me. He played a bit for the Reds before he got an ACL injury, so that.
Yeah.
So he
team.
I think obviously he had other plans and things like that. I think he's now playing in Manly in Australia, Sydney. But he was just gifted, could kick off both feet, step off both feet. He could hit well. He could attack a line, pass the ball. He could do anything, 20, 30 meters pass over like a bridge ball. So he was really, talented. And after school, when I left, I think it was Dylan Lates. He was just unbelievable, next level stuff.
Yeah.
When I left, that he was probably the one
ridiculous.
that, for me, stood out the most. Watching like the Classic Clash on SuperSport 1 at that time. I don't want to reveal my age now, but that time was so Classic Clash. I think they still do have it now.
It's Premier Inter schools now.
Yeah. So a lot has changed, but those were the days where you could see, obviously. And for schoolboy, that was big. You never play on TV, and you have a derby like ours was Rondebosch versus Bishop. So if you perform well in those games, you sort of earmark to go to the next level.
Highly rees. And then just sticking with Dylan, I think I have to ask this night. His brother Tristan, he wants to know if you could go back and replay one person game, which one would it be?
Great question.
The only time like the English schools playing the Afrikaans schools, that was tough. The BullsEye, Paul Jum, Paul Roos, so that was really tough. One that I can relive again, go back, is probably beating Paul Jum, where Guy Mala scored the only try in that game at Newlands. So we had our whole school obviously watching us, and I think I not to blow, how do you say, smoke up my own, but I got man of the match that game, and I remember Guy Mala was the only guy who scored that game. So I think we beat him like only 5-0.
Jeez.
And that time it was 20 minutes off. Some people would say it's not serious and it's just like a warm-up game. But
it's because there are a lot of games that they had.
Yes, there's I think 5-6 games taking place that day.
Yeah.
And we won. You didn't kick to poles to convert your try. So I think we won 5-0.
That's awesome. Yeah, then last one. This one, I think Mark loves this one as well. This is from the superstar at the moment, Sasha Ngomezulu.
Oh, yeah.
So he wants to know, is it true that you turned down playing SA schools to play your last Bosch game? Explain the story and your reasoning, please.
I was in I think SA under 18 that time camp, and I said to the coach, look, I've been at the school, they were good for me. Bishops obviously did, they went above and beyond for me. So I actually asked them if I could go play my school game ahead of the SN. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't do that. But I felt like it was my turn or my time to give back to all the coaches and all the staff, all the teachers that invested in me. Because there was a stage where I was failing some classes, and the teacher would say, like, you're not going to play rugby, and they would help me like extra classes like that just so that I could play. So it's all those type of things. Like everybody has invested so much in me. I just felt it's only right to give back to the school. And I, lucky enough, I managed to do the last try saving tackle that would have put Bosch ahead of us that day.
On Piley.
No, this was away. That
Rugby
was
A.
yeah.
Okay.
So that was away, and
Jeez,
I managed to put the
incredible.
last tackle in. I mean, other boys could have did it for the team, but me ending my school career like that, I think there was a picture. Some Rondebosch boys still claim that it's a high tackle, but I think it's solid, like just across the chest.
Yeah.
And they probably edited it and then they put it up here in the neck because it did look quite dodgy, but I think it was fair. At that time, it wasn't the waistline.
What you
with the
saying
new
about the
rules.
Bosch boys, eh?
No, I'm not saying that the new rule, if you're following the new rules now, then it was definitely a high
Yeah,
tackle.
fair enough.
But fair enough, it was, chest.
Yeah,
Like
unbelievable. Okay, so I think giving back to your club is obviously a big theme in your career. You've done that a lot. We'll mention them briefly. We can't not mention them. You go to the Stormers, Western Province. You play over 150 caps combined for that union. Just a word on that, because I think you kind of saw yourself as a one club man. You came from Bishops. You went there. You wanted to be in Cape Town. Your family's in Cape Town. You gave so much to that club. They gave so much back. Was an incredible relationship between you and the Stormers. So just a word on that on your time there.
Look, if you grow up in Western Cape, and I have to put it this way, Bulls is the enemy.
Yeah.
And I never saw myself 10 years ago, 12 years ago when I first started to join the Bulls, because all we saw when you play the Bulls here at Loftus especially, it's red. You want to take them out, you want to chop them, you want to, sort of, I wouldn't say kill them, but play with that mindset that you want to hurt them. But then things change, you get older, you get more wiser, you learn stuff. And then I think after 8 or 9 years, I left Western Province Stormers. I joined Wasps, and things just opened up my mind more that, in the end of the day, I was at that time single and doing things on my own. But now I have a family, I have to provide for the kids, and unfortunately, money is important. So when I spoke to Jake and Edgar, they were so open arms to welcome me here, and it's been fantastic, joining them. But I grew up being a one club guy. But things change, your circumstances change, and you have to do the best for what's out there for your family.
Yeah, I always find it a bit ridiculous when fans talk about the lacking loyalty because you go to another club overseas. I mean, rugby is a profession just like any other.
Yeah.
You have such a short career, such a short time to earn for your family. So that's always an odd thing for me. But speaking about earning for your family and all of that in your profession, you just came out of a very, very dark period in your life with Wasps going into administration. I think before we get to everything that happened after that, just for those of us who don't know, for viewers who don't know, what happened with Wasps?
So basically, in a nutshell, they overinvest, or they had a massive debt, and they couldn't pay it obviously to their creditors or the people they owe money. And every year they were losing money because the ticketing weren't obviously making enough money. So what they were spending, they didn't get back. And then just the one Monday morning, they called us in. We still played on Saturday, I believe it was Northampton Saints. And they're like, boys, you all made redundant. And I was there like, do I really understand this word redundant properly? Because as of now, you don't have a job. And immediately I thought of the family, being stuck there in England, because all your benefits with flights and things like that, free from the club going back home for us to South Africa, is all now fallen away. So automatically, like you're on your own, you must sort things out yourself. You have to courier or ship all your furniture again, because I've been going back and forth like that, um, and getting new cars, new rental housing, and things like that. So it was tough. But the family was there for me. They stuck with me and they just said to me, "Look, we believe in you. We back you. You will get a job." And for about 2 or 3 weeks, I didn't have anything. No club was biting to be there for me. And then in that time, Jake and Edgar called me. They said, "This is your home. You must come back." And I, gladly said to my wife and stuff, "This is where we're going. This is gonna be our home for I don't know how many more years. I would like it to be for 10 years."
Yeah.
So Jake, if Jake is listening to this, please 10-year
There
contract,
you go,
please,
coach.
But it's been really tough on the family all of a sudden, just like that. And I believe a lot of people get retrenched here in South Africa, and they have kids, they have a family, they have a bond to pay. What do they do? And there are still about, I would say, 30 boys who don't have a job. They're still waiting for contracts. My heart goes out to them to like, what are they going to do? So we always chat and call each other like, how's things going? Did you find anything yet? Because it's a nightmare. It's really tough,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't wish that upon anybody in their rugby careers, because it's sad, really sad, and being so far away from home. The flights and things like that, it's not cheap. But luckily we got out of it. I'm happy at the Bulls. I want to continue. Obviously, the form I'm in, obviously, I can be better. Everybody knows that. And every player needs to be better because you're never the final product. But yeah, I'm happy now. But the Stormers in a week and a bit's time, and I'm looking forward to that. They're the enemy now. Like the Bulls
Love
were
it.
the enemy back in the day. But, we need to, go big. And hopefully, inshallah,
Inshallah.
that's going to be a
Yeah.
good day for us. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go into that in a minute, 100%. One question I have. So you return to the Vodacom Bulls. The prodigal son returns to Loftus Walt. You start against Ospreys. You win man of the match in that game. You score an unbelievable try. We were up in the game,
Yeah.
going berserk. You set up. You're playing like with your hair on fire, if I can say that.
No,
I know. I realized that's not
Beard
an analogy.
Beard on fire.
Beard on fire. Just, and you said in a letter that you penned that you felt like that was you paying back Jake and Edgar, giving you this lifeline. Just a word on that, on what your mindset going into that fixture.
Yeah, I was incredibly nervous for that game because I know they're watching me now. I'm a bit older. Are they gonna say like, "Oh, is he expired? Is he still the same like what he was when he became a Springbok?" So all those thoughts ran through my mind, and I learned over the past few years, if you're nervous, it's really a good thing before you go into a game. If you're not, then there's a problem. If you're too relaxed, or some guys might find their routine is you need to be calm, and I'm starting to be like that. Be real calm, but also your brain is just running like this. And for me, I visualize a lot of things happening in the game, and I wouldn't say that try is what I visualized, because I never did anything like that sort of in my career, but it just happened, and I was lucky. I said, like, when I ran, when I caught the ball, I was like, this guy's not going to stop me right now. And I didn't want to go over him. Although he would have tackled me 20 meters back, I thought, let me go around
You skinned it.
the
Yeah.
winger. So I'm
He's
not
not going to
sure.
want to watch that back.
I'm not sure if he wanted to tackle me, but I was really lucky in doing that and scoring in the corner. So winning man of the match, that for me was,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you and
Just to
yeah,
give
so-
back to,
Yeah.
like, you sign the right guy. But the thing with that is, when you do things like that, it must happen sort of week in, week out. In training, because that's why I believe you first do it. And then in the game, you need to produce, because that's why we're here. We need to perform. We need to stay on top of the game. And I would like to be or do that in the future again.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I was just going to say, the loose forwards that game were running rings around
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
around. Yeah, it was absolutely unbelievable. And then you gone a couple of games. I think the next game or 2 games after you gone to captain the Bulls again on your
Yeah.
return. I mean, how did that come about, Nizaam?
That was nice. I think I built a good relationship with Jake in handling the processes that we want to do in the game. So I think he sort of believed in me to do it again. I didn't see it would happen, and I immediately had to change my game from being sort of the follower now in following Ruan Yorkia to being the leader now in my own right. So I just said to the boys, or some boys, you doing the attack. At that time, I think it was Johan Goosen or Chris. Jaco Swanepoel was doing a line out. So I like to have leaders around me where I can turn to them and be like a shared partnership. Okay, what we're gonna do now? What do you feel? What do you think? And look, the result didn't go our way, but for me personally, I grew. I saw what worked, what didn't work, and I can take it forward now into the next game and be of assistance to Juan or Marcel could see when he gets back. I can sort of help them in that way, because being a leader, you're not gonna get everything right. But in the end of the day, you must back what you are doing. So I would like to obviously lead once again, but also be there for Ruan and Marcel when they come back here.
Awesome. Yeah, I have one question about your faith. It's obviously a very important part in you as a person, the identity of Nizaam Carr as a player as well. You must be sick and tired of this question. You probably get asked this all the time, but for us, it is incredible. It is unbelievable. The fact that over Ramadan and when you're fasting, that you lose up to something like 10 kgs, if I'm not mistaken. I remember in 2014, I mean, I was still a youngster. I couldn't believe that a rugby player, professional athlete, was able to perform at that level. I think he actually won man of the match in that playing for the Stormers that game. So just a word on that. On it's obviously you're so used to it now, but just for us who don't quite understand how a professional athlete can lose that amount of weight and perform at an elite level, how do you go about that?
I think like for the Muslim players or Muslim people in general, they do Ramadan when they're about 7 years old. So it's embedded in you to fight that battle of not having food or drink during the day. And in South Africa, it's quite I would say easy compared to when I did it in England, because the sun sets a bit later there. So there's summer. You wake up 3 in the morning, have your last meal. You imagine waking up 3 in the morning and you have to eat a whole bucket of bowl of oats and bananas. Usually, what I have protein, fruit, and all this stuff. You can't, but you have to force feed yourself if you're a sportsman. So that I found hard in England, and then 10 p.m. at night you can eat again. So it was really hard. Where here in South Africa, the summers are quite good. So you maybe eat 6 o'clock in the morning, your last meal, and then 6 p.m. you'd eat again. So the days are a lot shorter. So I found like doing it here in South Africa, it's a lot easier whether it was in winter or summer, because every year it comes down sort of 1 month. Like last year it was April, now it will come towards March month this year. So it's quite around the corner, and I did my preparations for that, where I start getting my routines properly in my head to Ramadan. But I usually lose like 12, 13 kgs in that time. So whatever,
As a forward,
whatever you do, there is no way you can sort of prepare yourself, because the first week it's like a shock for me to your body. The second week you start losing that muscle. I mean, 14 days without eating during the day. And as a rugby player, you need to beef up, eat your proper calories and have your carbohydrates and all those stuff. So a lot of people before me has done it, like Hashim Amla, Sonny Bill Williams.
Hashim scored a triple century while he was fasting.
That's right, yeah. So they've done it. So my mindset is like, you also playing sport. Whether cricket is a different sport, they have the different challenges to concentrate as Hashim. All that long hours in that test cricket, it's quite tough. So people think cricket is a lot easier. And at the end of the day, you're still running, you're still doing your stuff. So for me, if they did it, I'm sure I can do it. And a lot of players, maybe after me, before me, they can do it. So that's because when you're young, you're already starting to do it. So when you're 15, 20, 25, it's a breeze for us.
So your fighting weight's at what, about 105,
105, 104.
So you're dropping down to what, 92, 91?
Yeah, that's right.
As a loose forward, do you adapt your game during that time? Maybe you're saying, I can't always take on the same physical battle. Maybe I know you like to be a link player regardless, but do you find yourself playing more in the wider channels, playing like that, or do you just play exactly the same game going into it?
I don't read too much into it. I just, whatever arises in that game, that's how I approach it. Sometimes teams will defend a lot weaker on the edge, and that's where I need to be on the edge. When they're weaker but in the middle, that's how I will change my game up. So like I said, it's for us. We're so used to it in doing it. It's easy for us, and for me, it's a spiritual time. That's a time I want to happen, is because that's when I cleanse my body. I connect with the Almighty. So if I do that, which is my routine or something we must do as the fifth, part of our 5 pillars in Islam, that's one of them. So you need to connect with our Almighty in that time, and then throughout the year, everything is easy. Obviously, you have to maintain how you were in the Ramadan, because everything goes up. Your spiritual praying, your thinking of God, speaking about God, everything goes up. So you must obviously carry it through, and that way you know that your fast or your Ramadan has been accepted if you carry on through the year until the next one.
Okay, then last question on your faith. You were the first Muslim Springbok. Since there have been others, I think Uze Kasim might have been one or two others. Do you feel at that time, did you feel this was a watershed moment for me and other aspiring Muslim rugby players that they can
Yeah.
look up to you and say, oh, he's done it, I can do it as well? Or did that thought go through your mind when you were capped as a Springbok?
Everything happened real fast when I obviously played the first game and leading up to that first game. Um, so when I look back, I think about it more. When things just go past you,
Yeah.
like you're not really absorbing everything. Although I wanted to, it just happened real quick. So I give a lot of credit to the people before me, for making the inroads, and like being a Muslim player, being player of color and things like that. Because I believe you couldn't play top level if you were, maybe a black player or something like that. So a lot of credit must go to those guys who were changing the game for us, which made it a lot easier for me just to walk right through of becoming a Springbok. So as I said, it happened quick. I believe Uzair was the second one, and Salman Murad
Yes.
Stormers was the third player. So I think only three players who's Muslim has represented the Springboks. But for me personally, I don't like putting it that way, because rugby speaks one language. You go on the field, you throwing the ball or the over ball around. You need to perform, and it's not about your color or your religion or where you grew up. All that matters is winning that game and how you perform and how the process goes as a team. So that is how I approach a game. It's not what I am, if you know what I'm trying to, say. So I did make history, and it is there as an accolade. But now, how many more can I add to my tally? How much more can I, add to things like that? So yeah, basically that.
Yeah, your mindset is just it's unbelievable. The way you look at life and sport. And I've heard that your dad was a big inspiration on your life, right? And this from Yasi, they wanted to know that
Yeah.
how you were able to to cope when your father passed away and you weren't able to go to the funeral when you were in London. So that's a big part of someone's life. So
Yeah.
how you were able to cope with that.
For me, that was extremely tough, as you put it. Not attending the funeral and mourning with my family, because with the Muslims, you get buried the same day. And if I had flown home, I would have missed the funeral anyway. So me and the family decided it's okay, we'll stay there, and it happened quickly. My dad had just 1 month, basically, the fight with the chemo treatment. He had leukemia in his blood, so 1 month he just passed away. So we didn't expect things to happen. With old age, you sort of like, okay, my dad's getting old now, and things, or my mom, but he was only 56 years old, so quite young, and we didn't expect this to happen. A lot like everyone else. So being over there, it was really tough. The man I wanted to impress, my personal hero, although I have many others, but growing up and things like that, my father being there for me, taking me to rugby practices and making sure I had the proper boots and headgear and mouth guard, all this stuff. My mom also being there for me, like washing my kit and when we play in the mud and stuff like that. So the person I wanted to impress the most was not now there anymore. For the next year, I lost a little bit the love for the game, because he was the one that always gave me feedback. Although the other coaches always do, but I would know when I played a bad game. Sometimes he wouldn't call me, then I know, like, oof, I didn't maybe perform like to my best of the ability, but he was the one that I really wanted to make proud, and he wasn't there anymore. So I've almost thought, like, who am I playing for now? Because they sacrificed a lot for me, and now that person is not there anymore. So it was a case of finding new goals, finding new ambitions, obviously still wanting to win silverware, but having, a deep why. Why are you doing this? And why do you train? Why do you want to be the best? So I had to re-look at all the values of why I wanted to play again. And yeah, that was just the case for me back then.
It's awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure he's looking over you today, as
Yeah, of
you know,
course.
dominate the field at times. So yeah.
So last question, speaking of dominate the field and goals and silverware, you mentioned that your goal coming back to the Vodacom Bulls was to win the URC trophy. So just a word on that goal.
Yeah, I was actually lucky enough to get off when I was at the Wasps to watch the game, the final, I think last season, where the Stormers played the Bulls, Vodacom Bulls, and I was so sad when we lost that game, and it gave me like almost motivation. Even though I was at Wasps, it almost felt like unfinished business that I needed to, join the Bulls again. And Wasps going bankrupt was, I won't say a blessing in disguise, but almost like something really good to happen to me, because now that ambition and deep sadness of losing that day, the final, gave me motivation now to win the URC again, and I hope we go the full way, the full length, and not only make top 2 or top 4, coming second in the competition. I believe we have everything it takes. We've got all the players, we've got proper quality coaches who knows the game in and out. So I think we do stand a real chance now.
Okay, last question. Stormers next week. Obviously, former team. They beat us in the final. You were there. You witnessed the heartbreak live. Just what's the motivation going into that game?
As I just mentioned before, we lost the final. We lost at Greenpoint a few months ago. If that's not enough motivation for you, then I don't know what will be. I think it's a game you don't have to be psyched by the coaches or your family or anyone else. You yourself need to have motivation for this game, because it's a North-South derby. We must be ready. We joined today after a break now, a few days off, so we're ready to go again.
Brilliant. Last thing we need you to do is just write down your MVP in the team.
Okay.
Who you believe we will keep it anonymous for the cameras. And this doesn't necessarily mean the most talented player. It's like the guy you think adds the most in the locker room, off the field, all of that.
Okay, I can't put my own.
You can actually.
I'm joking.
I would love the confidence.
Does it have to be one player, or can it be a forward back, or
anyone?
Anyone.
Anyone player, yeah.
Okay. You guys actually caught me off guard now. I actually told that player he's unbelievable the way he's been going the last few games. So whenever he's not playing, I'm really worried because, anyway, we'll see later.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nizaam. It's been an unbelievable chat. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nizaam, man.
Thank you, brother. Cheers.
Okay, lastly, KK, our World Sports betting segment. Perhaps
I'm out. Can we cut here?
Can we get a close-up of him, of his melon?
Can we please cut,
KK went 0-4 with his bets last weekend. He did not land a single bet. Of his 4 predictions, not a single one came right, including Power absolutely demolishing racing.
What are the chances of that, man?
Scotland beating England. He thought that was a shoo-in. Wales got clobbered. That was your crazy one. KK, you currently sit in 4-8, 4 wins, 8. I'm at 6-6, so I'm just at 500. Neither of us are doing particularly well.
How quickly things change, eh? Last week it was. I think I was ahead last week, or we were
even last week.
We were even last week.
The week before.
Yeah, and now I'm 4-8. I mean, I'm gonna need a massive week this week. I'm going to be conservative going forward. I'm letting you know whether you like it or not. I'm going conservative from now on.
There's a word for that. It's something to do with a cat or something. Speaking of
cat,
I'll speak of my bets quickly. We won't go into KK's because it was an abomination. I went 3-1. I lost just the one. The Sharks did me poorly there, losing to the Stormers in Durban 46-19. We said it a few weeks ago on the show. Those two teams are going to cannibalize each other. Maybe the Stormers win both of those. I'm not so sure. Sharks at full strength, Stormers at full strength. I still think the Sharks could win that. But Sharks are now having a torrid time in the URC, and they were the one team that let me down there. Ireland beat Wales 34-10. Just a toothless Welsh team in Principality. They look really poor even after Wales. Don't know. And then my big bet, I'm really proud of this one. Scotland beating England at Twickers. What a monumental win. 29-23. Duan van der Merwe scored one of the tries of my lifetime. It was unbelievable to see a South African do that. There were like 4 South Africans in the starting lineup with the Piers Skuman, Pierre Null, Duan van der Merwe, Hugh Jones, who's not technically South African, but they're thereabouts, and Carl Steyn. So great win for Scotland. They look really good.
Out there.
Where'd you get that information?
rumors.
Terrible start for Borthwick as England coach. We'll see how he goes. He can right or wrong against Italy. And then Toulon beat Montpellier away from home 2018. That was another bet against the odds. Toulon did it at the end. So if you want to win money, make sure you listen to me, because I'm on a hot streak now.
Yeah, that's 1 week, mate. But Mark, what did you get there? 3 and 4? I mean, 3 and 1. 3 and 1, sorry.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
You've done well there.
Okay, let's move on to this weekend. KK, a few more bets for you to lose. What's your betting slip this weekend?
Yes,
What's your betting?
Shots everywhere.
But by the way, we're doing Six Nations because that's all that's on. And then we're going to pick one game from the under 20 Six Nations game. That's all the rugby on. We're not doing second division French rugby. Okay, Cakes, head with your bet slip.
Yeah, here we go. First one, I've got Scotland to beat Wales at Murrayfield. They're 1.39 favourites. Like I said, I'm being conservative. I'm going for Scotland. And Wales losing to Ireland at the Principality like that. There's no chance of beating Scotland. Just beat England. Now, come on. Ireland to beat France at 1.48 favourites. I just went for them because they're playing at home, but France could easily win that. England to beat Italy.
What? No.
England to beat Italy. 1.05 favourites. Let's go. And then my Hail Mary bet is France under 20. France under 20 to beat Ireland under 20. They are 3.15 underdogs. You put down $100 there, you get 700 rand return, Marcus. That's not bad. That's not bad.
You coward. You coward. There's a
That's not
coward
bad.
before me.
That's not
Ladies
bad.
and gentlemen, we don't take a step back. We take a step. We up the ante
Well, listen to
on the
this.
show. France to beat Ireland.
Whoa!
France to beat Ireland. Also 2.95. France coming off a shocker against Italy. They won it, but almost lost it. Ireland coming off a dominant performance against Wales. Odds are 2.95. You're crazy to not take those odds. I think France are going to do one at the Aviva in Dublin. Okay, Scotland to beat Wales. Sure.
Yeah.
England to beat Italy.
Yeah. This guy.
And then I'm going Ireland to beat France in the under 20s. France almost bottled it against Italy under 20 by 1 point or a kick away were Italy under 20s, and their captain came on with a passionate speech. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go and watch it. It revved me up, got me going, made me end up betting on Italy to beat France in the senior team. So I think Ireland to beat France, and that's pretty much my bet.
Oh, we only got one different there, but you have to kind of match it.
We've
Because,
got two different.
No, I'm saying, but like in terms of like the odds, like in terms of you got one Hail
yeah.
Mary on each.
Nice, we'll leave it there.
Yeah. Cheers, my man.
Cheers.